My name is Mark Anthony Dubois Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about something that I don't know why, but this is strange. And all I want to say up front is thank you for those that are still tuning in to my videos, still watching stuff me talk about things that are going on this planet that I'm just trying to figure out more information and more understanding, and just don't want to say like go along with what everyone else has to say and just follow the line basically. I appreciate everyone that's still here, and in reality, the folks that are kind of even more interested with watching the newer videos I make today, talking about these dogs and animals and us, compared to even my old ones. I greatly appreciate. But today, I want to talk about something that is really interesting because it's something that a lot of people would say. The dogs think things through. I would say that because I could see how their expression is or something that they do that makes me think that they're thinking. Are they actually thinking? What's actually going on in their brain that we as humans perceive that they are thinking? Because is it a on and off switch? Because what's going on with that? Because I've heard there's some human beings in reality that don't have a thinking process in the brain, that they're just living. That fascinates me so much. Like it's absolutely incredible to be able to just, I would love to be able to talk to somebody like that. But when it really comes down to these animals, there's something that, are they sitting there thinking all day the same way that we as humans are able to do? Because that's the process in reality that can catch us to get into fear and anxiety, especially the anxiety, my goodness, is thinking and overthinking. And overthinking in a way that, uh, uh, overthinking in a way that can cause you to start thinking about stuff that isn't even real. That you're thinking about future events and past events that didn't even happen and it's not even going on. And that could put you in an extreme level of anxiety over just the concept of thinking. And that's what's weird, because I could see some dogs that have this level of anxiety, but are they having anxiety because of things that they're thinking or just something that's in their environment that's getting them to be weary? There's something that is just strange in reality, coming from the, we were, I don't know what word to use here other than the word that the science really states is we evolved to be here. How come we as humans have this process of thinking things and doing stuff, which at the end of the day is what in reality makes us be really say elite over the other animals on this planet? You know, some birds that could do some fascinating things, and some dogs and other animals can do some pretty fascinating things, but none of them could do anything nowhere near what we as humans are capable of being able to do. And I believe that comes down to our process of being able to think things through. That I can plan ahead because I can think about what I want to do. I can alter and change some stuff up because I can think about what's going on to be able to make myself get into a different place. It's something that the pretty much like all the animals across the board kind of just don't do. So the animals don't think, but we think. How did that process start and happen? How do we get to the point that we as humans are able to have this inner dialogue that branched away from how these other animals pretty much don't have that? Because something that I can just really notice with these dogs, it's an on-off switch. And I don't want to say that they're thinking, but they're processing something in the moment. So if I ask this dog here, Kahi, I ask him to do something, he's going to process what it is that I think that he thinks I want him to do. He's not like thinking, should I this or should I that, or should I not do this or should I not do that? He's not doing any of that. He's trying to process in that moment. But when I'm not actively said speaking or interacting with him, trying to say, tell him to do something, he's not thinking at all. He's just living. He's just moving. He's just cruising. He's just looking, doing sniff spots and just smelling and just walking along and running along. And he's not like, oh man, what am I going to eat tonight? Oh man, that dinner I had last night really upset my stomach. Oh, he's not doing any of that. It's an interesting situation when I'm thinking about me and us as being humans and how we're able to think. What happened that caused the brain to be able to go to a point that it can start to have an inner dialogue with itself? That inner dialogue is in reality, just my opinion, what separates us in reality from the animals. Because again, I think that they just process. They don't think, they process. They see a problem. So a crow that sees something in a jar, it's like, okay, I can go and grab this to be able to get that out. And then once it gets it out, it's not like worried anymore about what just happened and what's going on. It's not nervous about it, it's not anxious about it. It's just doing in the moment. It's processing in that second. But we as humans can say, hey, how can I be able to solve this so that I can continue to keep on solving this so that I don't run into this problem anymore? Something that unfortunately I just don't see animals do. And that's what I'm kind of just always watching and looking for more and more of these different types of animals out here, and I want to be able to get my hands on and be able to work with more and more, because they do stuff that is just nothing like us, nothing like us. And again, it's strange that we evolved from, say, potentially plant life in reality off this planet, and we just kept going and going and going. How did we get this said consciousness, conscious whatever, inside of us that gets us to be able to do what it is that we do? Can I be able to put traps up to be able to make sure that if a potential threat comes, that it's, oh, go ahead, girl, that it's going to be able to make sure that that potential threat doesn't come around again? How did we be able to do that? Where the animals just I don't think I've ever seen an animal do such a thing as knowing, like, uh, a bear is trying to protect its territory, so it put up some sort of traps. It dug a ditch to be able to make sure if you step in it, you fall in a hole. They don't do stuff like that at all. I don't think I've ever seen a single animal do anything like that. They're not able to, say, protect themselves in a forward-thinking way. They're just, there's a threat in my face, I'm going to react, I'm going to do something right now. They're not processing what used to happen or how it used to be. They're just right here. And that, in reality, is what makes these dogs be something very easy in reality to be able to work with when you're looking at it in the sense like that, that they're just here. They're not doing something because they're bad or wrong, or they're being disobedient or disrespectful. They're just doing what they're doing in that moment to be able to see what's happening right now. So that makes it easy, again, when you have a so-called reactive dog that's scared or fearful or overexcited. You can look at the scenario where you are to see this dog is scared and fearful of the environment right this moment, right this second. Not about something that used to happen, that could have happened, that should have happened, that may happen, that's about to happen. No, they're in that environment in that second, just saying, hey, this is dangerous right here, right now. And that's when you have to look around and assess what's going on here. But I think what a lot of folks are messing up with these simple dogs is we're treating them like they're humans. We're putting stories on them. We're putting thoughts in their brain that they actually don't have. And then when we start putting those thoughts in that animal's brain, that's when everything in reality is going to only just start to go downhill. As opposed to just saying, why did the dog jump? Because the dog jumps. Why did the dog dig? Because the dog's digging. It's not doing it in a way of trying to get back at or do anything mischievous. It's just being a dog. And it's living in that moment without thinking anything through. Because I don't believe any animal has a thinking process. I believe that what we see from these dogs is not thinking. It's something completely different. The only word I can use it again is process, but I'm trying to figure out something different to be able to say there other than that word, because they're just living, and they're just in this world. And that's probably one of the biggest, hardest downfalls of us as humans in reality, because we are able to think. That's what puts us to get into a situation that, for one, we're very easily to be able to move around and being able to be controlled. Because the more that you think, the more someone else can put thoughts in you to make you think. And the more that they put thoughts in you to make you keep thinking, and they keep putting those thoughts at you over and over and over again, the more that you're going to say, that's just what it is. That's what's going on. And you're not really thinking for yourself anymore, but you're thinking for what someone else is trying to tell you to think about. And it might sound complicated for half a second, but that's in reality what I come to see, like what this social media stuff does. They're sending you ads over and over again. They're sending you the same little things over and over again all the time to be able to get you to think away, and not really giving you the option to be able to make up your own mind about what actually is going on. Because when you see something once, and then you see something twice, you see something 8 times, you see something all day, every day, you see something over and over again, you run into a scenario that's what you think is real. And when you think that that is real, you're not going to push back or challenge anything else anymore. And that's something that, in reality, what a lot of people would say about how these dogs are. That these dogs, I still question certain things, what I'm going to say about these dogs. And right now, will be very controversial compared to what a lot of people think about them. But I don't know. I'm just throwing out theories out there and just talking and trying to figure out more about what's going on. That, unfortunately, I don't know why, science just isn't doing much of anything with these animals. They do give the dog a treat. Did it like it? Oh, it liked it. He's good to go. As opposed to, like, I don't know, we just should go way deeper. But I get it, there's no money in it. When there's no money in it, what's the point? And what's the point of actually figuring out how to controversial, actually fix and help the dog when there's no money involved in it. Everything that we have on this planet is to keep us sick, to keep us hurting, to keep us broke, because there's money in that. There's no money in actually being healthy and being mentally sound and being able to just freely move on this planet. There's no money in that. So I get at the end of the day what's going on here. But the main thing is, I don't believe that, just throwing a theory out there, these dogs really feel or have emotions or anything like that. When they're just hanging out and they're by themselves, they act completely different than when they're around a human being. That's the part where I'm just really questioning this idea of how these dogs just completely mirror us because they have no choice. It's based on their survival. But when they're not around humans, they act completely different with each other. These dogs are like none of the same when we're with them and when they're just by themselves doing what it is that they're doing. When they're by themselves, they're not thinking things through at all, what we could perceive to be. They're just doing. They're just living. They're just being. And that's why for me, I just really am starting to question that whole concept of these, I'm going to say this, but just bear with me, that these dogs are just dumb, insignificant, I'm just gonna leave it at that, beings, that they don't know anything more than just what's in front of their face in the moment. When you're in front of their face in a moment and you're displaying some sort of emotion to that animal now starts to do something back to you to make you think that something's going on. But the second that you disappear is the second that dog just goes right back to what's in its face. And if you're not in its face, it's not displaying anything. It's not doing anything. But when you're there, like for instance, how I can keep saying how these dogs are, sorry, there's a big hill here. Let me stop recording on this section. How I can say how my dogs, they don't care for me. They only care for what I do for them. That if I'm not walking around giving them with stuff in my hands, such as food or in the kitchen or anything like that, they're not begging me. But when I am, they're begging me. So it's a matter of, if I remove myself, the dog doesn't do that, period, at all. But when I put myself there, the dog starts to do it all the time. So it's not a matter that the dog is doing it on its own, because in reality, I don't know about y'all's dogs, but I just know how my dogs are. When I don't have food, they don't look at me. Not that they don't look at me like they don't care. I'm saying in the sense of begging. But they don't come to me to beg to get the food. You got a sticky situation if your dog does that right now. Just gonna put that out there, because that's when you start to get in trouble. That the dog is pushing you around. It's bullying you. It straight up is. If it's walking up to you, nudging you to say to you, you better give me some food right now, that's a very, we just use an entitled animal right there. But again, it's not that the dog is thinking through, hey, if I nudge them, I'll get food. No, the dog is just living on a programming of survival, of knowing, if I keep poking at this person keeps giving me something that I want. And then you just keep doing that, and then the dog just keeps getting what it wants. But the second that you disappear, that said nudging goes away because it can't do it. So it's not that it's doing it in a way that it's thinking things through. It's doing it in a way of just survival. And it's going to appear to be like it's intelligent, it's smart, it's thinking, but it actually really just isn't. It's just in a survival stance that we as humans, because we think, we start to put that upon the dog, as opposed to just the animals are just living. They're just here. Something that a lot of us just are really getting jammed up with. Because I know for me, that's why for me, I just don't have the said certain issues with my dogs that a lot of people do, because I train them to be dogs. I interact with them like they're dogs, and I want to communicate to them like they're dogs. I don't try to make them be what they're not. And the more that we say put feelings and emotions onto the dogs, the more that we are trying to make the dog be what it isn't, such as be a human being. We're trying to think that the dog is able to process and do and think that it's going to be compassionate with you when you do, when it just because it wants you out of its own freedom without getting something for it. Because that's the biggest thing. That's why treat-based dog training can make the dog appear to look really good for a while. because the dog is getting more out of it, as opposed to you just having a leash and just going with like a punishment route or removal of stuff right away. The dog is going to look like it's better because, of course, it's getting something. The more that it gets from you, the more that it's going to do for you. But it doesn't mean that the dog is now going to do it just because it like knows it, likes you, cares about you. No, it's doing it so that it can get that treat from you. I see that. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I can't stop watching some dog training videos. They just pop up and I'm like, let me check that out. That the dogs are working only for food. And as soon as you remove that food, the dog looks at you like, I don't care about you no more. Because the dog isn't thinking, oh my goodness, I got to be good to them because of all the good stuff that you've done for me. The dog isn't doing that, but we as humans are. And then we put the expectation on that dog. Come on, guys. We put that expectation on that dog that they are like us as humans. And we're sitting here treating it like it's a human. And that's where we're absolutely stumbling, because the dogs don't think. They're just living. They're just being. They're doing to survive. And the moment that they start thinking, unfortunately, I hope that don't happen, but there's a very interesting TV series that used to be out, I think it was called Animals. I forget what it was called. It was out decades ago, really. I think it came out in the year 2000, about the animals starting to basically give pushback to the humans. And all the animals that we were giving more pushback to with how we were treating them, the animals started to treat us like absolute savages because we were just disrespecting them. So they came back at us in a way like basically matching that energy. So if the dogs were able to think the way we as humans were able to think, I mean, we wouldn't humans wouldn't be on this planet for long at all. We would be gone in a couple of days in reality. And that's kind of what I'm going to say is the beauty of animals, but also the downfall of them. And also the sticky situation that's going on today, that we're trying to get them to be human when they're not. We're trying to do everything we can to like, look, see, it's doing that. So it must think, it must be like us. And the more that we do that, the more in reality that we're getting further and further away from actually getting the animals in a better place. The more that everything is just kind of getting worse and worse and worse, that everything is just living more into what it is. It's sense of gimme, 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 gimme. And then when you don't give it to them, that's when the animal doesn't care to want to listen to you. And the main thing I'll say behind that is, if that's your line of communication, is giving the dog something, understand that that's what you have to keep on doing to be able to communicate with that animal. You can't just one day say, oh, I'm done with that. Now you no longer have a line of communication with that animal. And that animal is going to only do what it does to survive, not to please you, not to just look at you and just say, hey, I really, really thank you for these treats. Now your dog's looking at you like, hey, give me another one. Hey, give me another one. Hey, give me two more. Hey, if I nibble on you a little bit, maybe you'll drop it off for me. And it's going off of survival. It's not going off of it loves you, appreciates you, it cares about you. Something that, I'm just challenging. I don't know. I'm just saying that I don't believe that the animals are capable of being able to love us as humans. We can have something that is perceived to look and perceived to be that way, but that's, again, us as humans putting our thought, making the animal have thoughts that it doesn't have, making the animal have feelings that it doesn't have, making the animal do and be something that it isn't, because we come up with these stories because our thinking process and patterns start to go extremely wild and crazy. Now we can make something, how many of y'all been in a relationship with a girl or a guy that you thought someone was away, and then you find out later on that that's actually not who they are? You came up with an idea of who that person was. How many of y'all know, we just go down to like actors and singers and artists and stuff, that you see them in all these movies and you think that they're away because you see them in all these films, and then you meet that person or you hear a story about that person, you're like, whoa, there's no way they did that, because we can make something be what we want it to be as opposed to what it actually is. That's a huge issue going on in the 20 to 24 in the world that we live in today. We are trying to force something to be something that it isn't. And when we're doing that, that's where we're going to start to keep on stumbling, because we're putting stories in that don't need to be there. Because we're looking at these animals that we like, oh, they think like I do. They feel like I do. They care like I do. When in reality, they straight up just don't. They're just living. They're just hanging out. And when we really just understand that, that's where I don't know how to say this. I've been testing some stuff out with these dogs. I no longer look at my dogs at all, period, across the board, of you guys like me. You only like me for the stuff that I do for you. And I'm gonna tell you that the stress levels that I have is going way down, like way down. I have like almost no issues. When I speak, I got an issue with Johnny that sometimes I speak and he like, he freezes, he just locks and stares at me. He's like, I don't know what to do because I'm not looking at him anymore of you're doing what you're doing to be like said disobedient. You're doing what you're doing to try to get at me. I'm like, no, the dude is just doing what he's doing. And if he doesn't move, I just move. I'm like, okay, we're done. We're moving. And it's made my life be much more clear, much more simpler, because I'm looking at the dog in a way of knowing it only wants what I have to give to it. It doesn't really want to give to me just because of nothing. They want something. It could be pets. It could be belly rubs. It could be food and snacks. It's something. Your dog is coming up to you right now to put its head on your lap because it wants a physical touch, physical affection from you. It wants something. It's not there just because. It wants something from you. It's using, at the end of the day, straight up, this language, it's using you to get what it wants and what it needs to be able to survive. And the more that it's able to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, the more that it's going to appear that the dog is said doing better. But in reality, as soon as you start to take these things away, you're going to see the realness of what's actually going on. That the dog really wasn't there for you. It was only there because of what you're doing. And I don't know how and why, but seriously, I've been looking at these animals that way this past couple of weeks, and it's just things are so smooth. It's getting much smoother. I'm not putting stories in the dogs. I'm not looking at the dog like it's thinking, oh, what's going on with it? I'm not looking at the dog that it's scared because of a past experience or it's excited because of something before, something this. I'm looking at what the dog is doing in right this second, right this moment. And if I see that the dog is nervous, I'm looking around and like I say, I can move the dog 2 feet over and it stops being nervous. And I'm looking at what's going on right here, not putting extra on the animal. And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of us are failing right now, I'm going to say, with these dogs, is we're putting too much on them. We're putting too high of expectations for one. We're putting too high of a standard. We're trying to make them be the same as us as humans, as opposed to just allowing the dog to be what it's supposed to be, a dog. And the dog is just living in this world, and trying to survive. And it's going to do everything it can to just survive. It doesn't look at this world of, if I do good to this person, if this person does good to me, I'm going to want to do good to them. No, the dog is just there. Thank you. I don't know why. I've just been playing with these dogs much differently. Working them in the sense of, you got stuff to do as a dog and I'm going to treat you like a dog. You want to act like a dog? We're going to treat you like a dog. We're going to let you be a dog. I'm not going to try to make the dog fit into what we as humans are. Johnny, Kahi, get out. I know your stomach is good for that. I don't want her drinking that. This dog is beast mode. He definitely could. He'd be one of those that could survive if we just had a lead of dogs behind. He would make it. That Dalmatian, I doubt it. she wouldn't make it. Unfortunately, she's too much. That's the word I could use right there. She's too high maintenance. She's not the best of the best. Like this boy here, he don't have no issues ever. He don't have no bugs ever on him. He don't ever be itching nothing. He could drink whatever. He could roll whatever. He's just always just perfectly fine. Outside his eyes to get jammed up, but that wouldn't stop him from navigating the world. Because even when he was half blind, he was still walking out here and doing what he's doing. He would never even know that he could barely see. It's just impressive to see. But it's a matter of me looking at, knowing that even a scenario like that, he didn't slow down. And I never put a story on him of, poor dog, he's disabled. Poor dog, he's hurting. Poor dog, he's got a handicap, so we got to slow life down. No, I kept pushing him just as hard. Kept working him. And I just treat the dogs like dogs. And it's just, I don't know why, but how and what came into my brain of trying to put stories on these animals, as opposed to just, the animals are just animals. They don't think, they don't feel, they don't do any of that stuff. They're just here. And that's confusing to me, because what happened to make us as humans be able to do that? Where the dogs don't do that, where the monkeys don't do that, where the Everything doesn't do that. The lions don't do that. Everything doesn't do that. They're here. They're not. The one thing that, again, if animals did this would be incredible, is being able to think of how to be able to keep themselves safe and put things in order to be able to do that the way that we as humans do. We keep ourselves safe by building communities, making houses, building huts, making fire, building traps, doing stuff like that. Animals don't do that. And if they did, man, it would be a dangerous world, but it would be a very interesting thing. Oh, come here. Come here. Sorry, we got people coming. I think it's people coming. Come here, Ophi. There's definitely a dog up there. Nope, come here, girl. Ophi. Come off the side. Sorry, there's some folks coming. You can look at the faces of the silly dogs.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
They're pretty dogs.
Yeah, thank you. All right, come on, guys. Sorry, we gotta jump off the side. Surprised they didn't have a dog. She was looking all excited like there was a dog with him. She do like meeting people, and she gets all butthurt. But that's part of me. Again, I'm not putting those thoughts in her, but she wants to do what she wants to do in the moment. And when she doesn't get it in the moment, she has this shutdown. But it's an interesting thing to just keep watching. But these dogs, they don't think the way and do anything of the way that we as humans do at all. I just testing and working with my dogs. I don't know about yours, I know mine. That they are just living. They're living. And they're here. And they're doing everything they can to live a better life. So if that means that they have to beg me to get more food because they need it because they're not going to be able to survive, they're going to do that. That means if they have to bite me to get something from me to be able to survive, they're going to do that. And if that means they're going to take off and go chase something to be able to survive, they're going to do that. And the only way that they stop doing that, said for me, being the caretaker of the animal, is because I give them everything that they possibly need so that they don't need to worry about surviving, that they can start to get to the point that they're said thriving. And when they're thriving, they're willing to do pretty much anything that I'm looking for from them, because I'm no longer having to fight with their instinct of, I need to stay alive, I need to stay alive, I need to stay alive. I'm not playing these games with them like that. I'm just treating them as they are, right here, right now.